Look, there's no way around it. This is an auspicious occasion. I know normally I often, cold start with a gag, but I thought the best way to celebrate this was with a dramatic reading. After all is said and done, you've never walked, you've never run. You're a winner. You've got the moves, you know the street. Break the rules, take the heat. You're nobody's fool. You're at your best when the going gets tough. You've been put to the test, but it's never enough. You've got the touch. You've got the power. So look, I have a hard time maintaining any real objectivity with Optimus Prime figures in the first place, let alone this Optimus Prime. Now I will admit, when we first saw this guy, I was a little bit skeptical. Something about him, something about his countenance, his proportions, maybe the cab deco just didn't do it for me. But upon getting him in hand, it is an incredibly different story. I can't be the only one who, upon getting a new Optimus Prime, you bust them out and you just find yourself automatically saying the lines, right? One shall stand, one shall fall. But I'll concede, this is the first time I've felt the lines coming from him. Now, that's not to say that he's not without a few issues. There are still a few things that for a Commander class figure, I do feel are a little underwhelming. So I want to get those out the way straight up the top, get it off my chest, so then we can just get back into loving the surrogate father of a whole generation. Okay, so firstly, the Commander price point. They've obviously justified quite a bit of it by having a trailer which is the new definitive trailer, despite still being a little bit boring, which we'll look at later. I mean, it's always a bit boring. And I know that he's an incredibly complex figure, and he's just the Masterpiece Light version, but I have issues. Issue 1, I don't know if this was the right way to go for the coloring of his chest pieces. I know they're trying to go kind of cartoony and it's metallic and got that sheen to it, but I find once you actively look at them, they pull you away from the figure as a whole. Point 2, the smokestacks have no real tension to them. They're wiggling all over the place. Ultimately a good thing, and I understand it, but it would have been awesome if they could have been locked in just a little more tightly. Just a little. I also would have liked him to have a slightly more pronounced neck so that you could just get a little bit of a larger range of motion out of that head. I hate skirt pieces, at least it's a split skirt, but for Commander, I really don't think it would have hurt to have that little bit of separation through there to have the skirt pieces move with his leg. I just find it always ruins the aesthetic of things by making their thighs seem shorter than they really are. Also at this price point, I don't think it would be ridiculous that they gave battle damaged chest panels and maybe an alternate head. Just like, I don't know, the trailer I don't feel like makes up the size difference compared to say Ultra Magnus. And lastly, I think we've all been well and truly made aware of the misassembly of those heel pieces by this point. I don't think I'm going to bother trying to flip them around. It is what it is. Now, with that out of the way, oh my god, I love this toy. Like, you can just feel the Optimus energy exuding from him. Like, I look at it and I can hear him telling me that everything's going to be okay if I just work hard and do what's right.
Now I know. And knowing is half the battle.
The Transformers!
Apps-wise, apart from not agreeing with the color of that chest, things are looking pretty great. It probably wouldn't have hurt maybe to chuck a pinch of silver on those windscreen wipers, but they are going for kind of, supreme cartoon deco accuracy, and they've hit the blend of like sculpting and surface detail to like bold flat colors just amazingly. The sculpt and deco just unfolds before your eyes. Like at first glance, he's larger than life, almost cel-shaded cartoon glory at its finest. And then when you take it all in, you start to notice all the fine, delicate panel work and mechanized elements on the inside of his legs, the front of the shins. Like, I know we've gotten used to those vents being painted silver, but that's not how he was in the cartoon, so you can't be mad at it. Like the gas tank sitting there, the back of the legs, everywhere is so austerely painted and delicately sculpted that, dare I even say, gazing upon him is a mindful experience. Is he demure? And all of that just lends itself so beautifully to his articulation, because it is nigh impossible to put him in a pose where you can't just tell that, like, he's the main one. Like, even if you knew nothing about Transformers and you saw this figure standing in the lineup of the 86 guys, you would know this is the main good guy. Every shape thrown just exudes authority. The head is on, I guess, an acceptable ball joint. I mean, it's Optimus's mug, so however he's looking, he means it. The arms come up to a 90, 180 around, 90 bent out of that elbow, bicep swivel, pointer finger, then other 3 fingers on a double joint, no thumb, wrist swivel, an amazing deep butterfly, not just forwards butterfly, he's rocking a generous backwards butterfly as well. Waist swivel, nicely internally sculpted, universal at the hips, thigh swivel, past 90 knee bend, a little bit of down on the toes, then a little bit of ankle tilt that's cuffed by his pants with a little bit of a space filler, so you can get quite deep before it shatters any illusions. So, as you'd expect, a release like this obviously comes with a plethora of accessories.
Would you say I have a plethora?
A what?
A plethora.
That's right, pop culture's most infamous semi-trailer. Handy stand for when he's not going nowhere, and you want to open this bad boy up. He's got the awesome wide step and feet. Pop down that back, split it in half. Here it is. Is it a little flashier than usual? Yes. Is it just as boring as usual? Also yes. Also, the crane arm seems a little small to me, and it's strange not having the orange perspex. Also, why is this, whilst still eminently posable, claw arm not on a ball joint? It's weird, right? It's just a weird one. Pretty nifty that Roller can tab in if you want him to. Him to? It to? Can't shoot out, but that's what imagination's for.
Imagination.
You can store the gun and the axe on either side. They've got the same bits. These extra parts are for the blast effects, but I don't know. Thematically, that doesn't work for me. Which brings us to blast effect storage. Pop down the bumper. That frees up this secret little truck beddedy bit. A little bit like Rodimus's secret drawers and stuff. And that's where you can store those blast effects that'll come in more handy when we get around to vehicle mode. As well as this is where I'd rather keep these bits. The world's laziest, lamest looking blast effects. So you can obviously, you know, play with Roller in it. The crane arm can detach and then reattach onto Roller. Puts it somewhere between Jason the Wheeled Warriors and Johnny Five.
No, stop, please, not just the no, not disassemble, I'm alive, no, please, I'm alive.
Also, there's a little fun play feature with Roller, which I was surprised to see they actually showed in the instructions and it wasn't just a bit of an Easter egg, but if you got a couple of Prime Masters, they can hop in that front seat there. So then these guys can, you know, coast around in Roller, like a roller coaster, if you will. Woo! And it can obviously still double as a med bay if you feel like reliving one of your biggest pop culture childhood traumas and giving it a little bit of, but Prime, I'm not worthy.
Nor was I.
Am I crying? No, I'm not crying. You're crying.
Which brings us to our next standard primal pack-in accessory, the Matrix, with the double cover, just like in the film. Just a quick aside, love the sculpting in there. He can obviously do the patented Matrix hold, and he can obviously hand it off for his big mate to immediately double fumble. Toasty! Real talk, do we think that Hot Rod was always destined to take over as the next Prime? Or, because the Matrix got dropped and he managed to get in there and grab it, did he interrupt the line of succession? And so kind of, you know, stole the mantle.
It's an urban legend that never happened. No way. We got you. Not a chance.
Mine has quite a bit of copper paint bleed down onto the crystal, which is a bit of a bummer, but what do you do? I guess I could always just grab a different, cleaner Matrix out of the Matrix bowl.
We actually got a lot of those. Yeah, some of the guys use them as paperweights. Some of them.
So many figures now come with a Matrix that it's really not the caveat that it was once upon a time. But how cool would it have been with the 86 figures if, like, Hot Rod and Rodimus and Ultra Magnus had all had the ability to take a Matrix, but it wasn't until this 86 Prime release that we actually got a Matrix for all those figures. So as we saw from the trailer, Optimus also comes with the Optimus gun. More grey than black this time out, but you know, metallic and looking quite cool. Fits in his hand with trigger finger. And because of that butterfly, you can totally get him in a position to give it his best, no matter the cost pose. You can also take those super lame blast effects and put them on the end of his gun. I hate it. And I think we know any high price point Optimus Prime figure, despite it only really being used that one time, is going to come with the Energon Axe. So to equip that Energon Axe, all you're going to do is unclip that wrist, fold back that fist, revealing this little nubbin, and then that'll just go ahead and clip on like so. Which, I mean, axe hand is cool, I guess, but you can actually, you know, be much more dexterous with an axe if you still have your wrist articulation, as opposed to it just being stuck on like that. But it's a thing he does, they've made him do it, grateful for it. And so that's pretty much all of his armaments in a nutshell. Johnny 5 alive! And just quickly before we move on to some more interesting comparisons, I do feel contractually obligated to show a quick comparison to some trailers of days past by way of Earthrise Optimus and ye old G1 Optimus Prime trailer. Take from this what you will. Alright, now, in the immortal words of Pixelated Daniel, it's comparison time. So let's start off with a few primes that you probably have in your collection. So let's go with Rise of the Beast Voyager class prime. I had actually thought they were going to be a closer size match than what they've ended up being, which is a testimony to how he probably does warrant his Commander class price point. Then we've got the prime that most of us have probably had lurking there as our 86 equivalency for some time now, Earthrise Optimus Prime. That Earthrise and Siege figure are still incredible.
But suddenly a new contender has emerged.
Look at them, it's almost a little bit like Zack Schneider Optimus versus James Gunn Optimus. And then lastly, the prime that started it all, G1 Optimus. And this is even more special because this is my original beat to hell G1 Optimus from when I was a little fella. Man, toy tech really has come quite a long way, hasn't it? And let's check him out with a few 86 alums by way of Ultra Magnus, Grimlock, Blaster, Ironhide, Cup, Perceptor, Blurk, Hot Rod, and RC. Now that is quite the family photo. He definitely is looking right at home here, both aesthetically and spiritually. Scale is always such a contentious thing, but I just wanted to quickly highlight the difference between these three. It might not be everyone's cup of Energon, but for me, this really works. And just to cover all bases, let's quickly have a look at some Decepticon comparisons. Oh yeah, that's right. Well, that's that, I guess. I'm thinking no one's going to be particularly surprised to hear that the transformation here is pretty involved. Open the wrist, flip of the fist, arms up, bend the elbows backwards. Then flip these panels up, flip these side panels out, twist the waist, fold down the cod piece, flip this piece up, flip these pieces down and out for now, pull this whole shooting match down. Take that grill, fold out the rest of the grill, and then the head I have had some difficulties with. So you want to fold it down, right, get his hat horns out the way, and then we need to get this bit to sit flush, but it doesn't always like to, and it just feels horrible trying to get it there. You feel like you're going to break it. Oh, every time it feels like it's going to break. I don't know if that's just my copy or it's going to be something that keeps happening, but heavens to Murgatroyd. Then twist that whole top assembly around, and this panel is going to flip up, cover his face, and then these two pieces are going to concertina around and plug in together, twist the arms around. Hypothetically, they're going to nestle right on in and tab in up here. From here, it's a lot of folding out of panels to fill in spaces. So fold these out to get all these panels in place onto their little tabs. You've got something like that. Then the legs. Flip this front piece around, peg it in on the side of the leg. On the feet, on the inside here, there's these little pieces. You've got to make sure they flick out because they're actually going to help join the legs together. And if you forget, it's a pain. It's a pain to do later. I mean, to be fair, it's a pain to do now. They don't ever really want to come with you, but that's that. Patented prime toe pinch. And drop that whole section down, and then in between here just stretch the wheels out a little bit. They'll peg in around this bottom bit. Then we want to come around, slide down these pieces. As it's halfway down, twist the red piece, fold it the rest of the way up, and underneath the arms there, it's got that tab that's going to sit in. Then these pieces will flip forward to fill that space, and as well as anchoring into the leg, we'll anchor into the back of the cab, helping to hold that all nice and snugly. So slot there, tab there, slot there. Then we just got to flick out the wheels. And there we have Optimus in his vehicle mode. It does a commendable job of doing that thing that it is. Big Tetris block energy. He's square. right? He's doing what you need him to do. Most gaps filled. Sometimes, you know how there's that thing with a lot of Optimus figures where it's very clearly like, you know, cuboid up front and then a set of legs at the back. I'm not super getting that energy from this guy, and it all, you know, tabs in places, which is good. The only bit that really sticks out is where they've had to color match this piece, cast in blue and paint it red. On camera, it looks pretty good. In real life, you notice it more, but, you know, not egregiously so. By way of a comparison, here he is alongside that Earthrise number. I do think the Earthrise version has potentially some better, tidier apps, but, you know, it's a mixed bag. Better painted headlights, doesn't have those floodlights up top here. Does have windscreen wipers in that bit, doesn't have the yellow bits in the grille. It also does a good job of, like, yes, there's a lot of panel work and surface detail, but it's, you know, on the whole pretty crisp. What's kind of interesting as well is for how big a size difference there is in robot mode, it's not super translated to vehicle mode. Like, this definitely feels heavier, much heavier. This, in this mode, has the kind of heft to it where you're like, oh, there's some die-cast pieces in there. This feels like die-cast. But there isn't. It's just dense. Just a lot of mass.
We've been through this, okay? I'm cultivating mass.
Now, of course, he can also take the trailer. Real generous, like, trailer post for that hitch. So that when it's on, it's definitely not going anywhere. And he's got enough clearance that he can do some real tight circles. Jackknife that right in there. Doot, doot. And just for a final vehicle mode comparison, I thought I should probably get some Decepticons in there. How much do you love it in that sequence that despite every Decepticon being able to fly, most of them got so flight or frighted by Optimus barreling down on them that only Blitzwing actually had the presence of mind to fly out the way. The others just tried to run and got mowed down. Which actually brings us nicely to the last of our accessories, one that I'm low-key obsessed with, and an accessory that is enough to almost make me want to keep him in vehicle mode. I mean, I won't. I'm not going to, but it's a thought that I've had. I imagine there's a lot of bros who are gonna buy two so they can fully utilize these accessories. They're just such a powerful moment to be able to take from the screen and capture in the plastic fantastic. They are sided, so you take them, they've got little tabs underneath, plug them on in, and such a small thing. But it's a testimony to that movie, how impactful being able to put him at like, what, a 35-degree incline on some blast effects. Like, love this. Mad props whoever thought to chuck this in there. So what are we thinking? Is this figure of the year?
Wow, that's a great question. Tough one, though. I mean, what does one gauge his response on?
But I do think he has definitely set the new standard for what you can do in mainline for a character like this. Could he potentially be doing a little bit more for Commander class? Maybe. But what he is doing, he's doing it well, gosh darn it. And I, for one, have gone from skeptic to advocate when it comes to this figure. Even if there are better value Commander class releases, I don't know if there's cooler ones or ones of more significance and gravitas. This is the realization of a dream a long time coming. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, way to go, you little legend. So what are you thinking? Have you got him? Are you going to get him? How excited are we? What did you think of everything you saw? Hit me up in the comments below. I want to know. Alright, let's get nerdy with it. And until the next one, till all are one. No, I was going to go with catch. Catch it.